Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm Kate Seeley with the Middle East Insitute. Thank you all so much for joining us today for our discussion about Ambassador Edmund Hull's new book, High Value Target, Countering Al-Qaeda in Yemen. I think it's very fitting that we're going to be talking about this subject today on the in the wake of the assassination of Osama bin Laden, since much of this book is, of course, about U.S. efforts to counter al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. And it's going to be very interesting to see how al-Qaeda in Yemen responds to bin Laden's assassination. I'm sure we'll be getting into that discussion with Ambassador Hull afterwards during the Q&A. But we're here to talk about the book, which we'll be selling here afterwards. I think most of them have been snatched up, actually, from the table in the back. They're $20, $7 cheaper than in the bookstore. If there aren't any left, and we have one or two left, pick up one of these and you can order the book online. But it's based on Ambassador Hull's fascinating 4 years in Yemen when he served as ambassador from 2000 to 2004, at a time when the Americans and the Yemenis began to work very closely together in their fight against al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, and had real luck in basically downgrading the group's capabilities. It was also a time when the U.S. realized the importance of linking the fight against al-Qaeda with economic development and the importance of engaging and encouraging civil society and reform in Yemen. High Value Target has received some wonderful reviews. Trudy Rubin of the Philadelphia Inquirer wrote, "This book is must-reading for those trying to divine what lies ahead for Yemen in a changing Arab world." And she wrote that before the unrest began. And, of course, we're trying to divine what's going to happen in Yemen even more today as President Abdullah Ali Saleh tries to wiggle out of the agreement he's agreed to at the GCC. In addition to serving as ambassador to Yemen, Mr. Hull has enjoyed postings in Jerusalem, Egypt, and Tunisia. He earned the CIA's George H.W. Bush Award for Excellence in Counterterrorism for service in Washington, and a Presidential Meritorious Service Award for his time in Yemen. Following his retirement, he taught at Princeton University, and he currently consults for the U.S. military. It's a great privilege to have Mr. Hull with us today, a privilege and an honor. And now please join me in welcoming him. And hopefully you know how to make that work.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kate, and thank everybody for coming. I'm very gratified not only to see the numbers, but also to see some familiar faces and people who know an awful lot about Yemen and about counterterrorism. It's a little bit daunting. There are people here who were in Yemen before me. There are people here who were in Yemen after me. And so for some of the challenging questions that I anticipate, I'm going to feel free to call upon additional expertise that is in the room. I'd like to thank MEI as an institution for this opportunity. It's really the first time I've had a chance to pitch the book. It may be a little rough, but bear with me. I also want to say a word of thanks to Wendy Chamberlain, who's the head of MEI. Wendy is cited in the book. She's one of the paragons during my time there. We had a lot of visitors to Sana'a, but not many benefited us as much or more than Wendy Chamberlain. And she came as the assistant administrator for USAID when we were trying to get a development program launched, and we were scrambling around using kind of inspired amateurs and the local talent. And Wendy, who had been ambassador in Pakistan, immediately understood what we were trying to do and sympathized with that, and went back to Washington and oiled the bureaucratic wheels so that we eventually got Doug Heisler out there, who was able to professionalize us and put us on a much better track. So as the book makes clear, the success we had against al-Qaeda was very much a group enterprise. It included the country team in Yemen. It also included people like Wendy who came and supported us. Well, why do we talk about Yemen? It wasn't so long ago when Yemen was kind of that marginal country on the Arabian Peninsula, so marginal in the NEA Bureau and State Department that it was really hard to get the Assistant Secretary to even attend to it. But that's changed, and I will argue that it's likely going to change even more. We've all, I think, welcomed Osama bin Laden's demise in Pakistan this week. And I think it is representative of a larger phenomenon, and that is the demise of Al-Qaeda Central. And I think that's no accident. It's because of our sustained operations against Al-Qaeda and some cooperation from the Pakistanis. But if you compare where bin Laden was himself personally in those final months, years, when he was in this compound, basically cut off, having to communicate to the world with a few trusted couriers, and even that communication ended up being his downfall. If you compare that with what's happening in Yemen today with Anwar al-Awlaki, who is able to function relatively comfortably with tribal support, who is able not only to access his audience through conventional means, but has pioneered in using the internet and that media to recruit and inspire. And we see that there a very practical way in which Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula has in significant ways superseded, surpassed Al-Qaeda Central in the ongoing Al-Qaeda operations. And this has been acknowledged at the very top in Washington. John Brennan's speech in December, which I recommend to anybody interested in Yemen, made very clear that Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula is the most operationally active node in the Al-Qaeda network. That assessment was confirmed early this year, January, February, with the annual intelligence briefs on the Hill, when the director of CTC and the director of national intelligence also testified to the Congress that AQAP is the most pressing threat that the country has today. It is also particularly pressing because it has made no bones about aiming at the homeland. Their ambitions far, far exceed operations in Yemen or even in neighboring Saudi Arabia. They've made clear in their propaganda that they aim at the U.S. homeland, and then they've acted upon that with the Northwest Airlines 253 plot and the more recent UPS FedEx plots. And they've said that they will continue to search our defenses, look for chinks in our armor, and exploit those chinks. And that even if they don't succeed in a specific operation, they hope that their continued efforts against us will force us into taking measures which are expensive, which are inconvenient for American citizens, and they will, through this war of attrition, wear our spirit down. So this is a formidable adversary, likely to become more formidable